Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief brought to you by Lay of the Land, where we take a look at those top stories making headlines. There are no words, just absolute profound sorrow. Our heads are bowed in mourning, and we join millions around the world in expressing our profound sorrow at the massacre at Ron Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, that saw 19 children and 3 adults murdered. Now, we are not going to name who the murderer was. Suffice to say, he was an 18-year-old who was killed by law enforcement. Israeli leaders have expressed their devastation and their sadness at the events in Uvalde earlier today. Prime Minister Bennett said all of Israel mourns, and our thoughts and our prayers are with the victims and their families. Foreign Minister Yair Lapid said, "We are all devastated and our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Texas." Defense Minister Benny Gantz expressed his condolences and said, "All of Israel stands with you." Lay of the Land and the Israel Brief express our profound devastation and sorrow. Our thoughts, our condolences are with the victims and their families, and may they know no more sorrow. In other news, last night, CNN broadcast an insert where they squarely blame Israel for the shooting of Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. In fact, the excerpt went as far as to say Israel deliberately targeted Abu Akleh. So let's break down their witnesses that they use, because this type of reporting is unbelievably dangerous and extremely irresponsible. First of all, they used an eyewitness who said that he filmed the incident and there was no exchange of gunfire. There was no conflict. In fact, there were about 10 or so Palestinians standing around laughing and joking with journalists. Now, I covered this story, and I remember quite clearly when the breaking news came. The news was heavy exchange of gunfire between Palestinians and security forces in Jenin. The news had not broken that a journalist was fatally shot. And no sooner had the news broken that Shireen Abu Akleh unfortunately was killed than the footage circulated where you can clearly see Palestinians firing guns in an exchange of fire with IDF counter-terror forces. Also emitted from the broadcast was exactly why the IDF was embarking on counter-terror operations in the extremely volatile town of Jenin in the West Bank. The next expert called was Chris Cobb-Smith. Now, Chris Cobb-Smith gave his expert opinion based on photographs of strikes of bullets against the trees. In his expert opinion, and this is somebody who has not seen or examined the fatal bullet that is still in the hands of the Palestinians, he said that Israel had deliberately targeted Abu Akleh. Now, on close inspection, because of course Israeli journalists are going to do their due diligence and check out exactly who this expert witness is, we have subsequently found that Cobb-Smith has a history of anti-Israel reporting going back as far as the 2002 Jenin incidents. He has also subsequently filed reports for Amnesty International, specifically targeting the Israel Defense Forces. And this has been published and is widely circulating as well. So personally, and I'm not a lawyer, I don't think Cobb-Smith's testimony or expert witness advice would stand up in a court of law. But it does bring something extremely nefarious to the fore, and this is the agenda of the mainstream media and the deliberate use of these kind of experts to push this agenda. At the moment, we still don't know who is responsible. Is it possible Israel could have fired the fatal shot? Yes, it is. It is also possible the fatal shot could have come from the Palestinian side. However, we will not know until ballistics have been confirmed and an investigation, which is ongoing, an operational investigation is still ongoing, will be concluded. But this kind of verdict has very, very dangerous consequences. It portrays Israel as having nefarious motives, wanting to clamp down on a free press, and of course has a knock-on effect for Jews around the world who are routinely blamed for what people see as mistakes by the IDF. Now, the IDF have said they are committed to finding out the truth and have asked the Palestinians to cooperate. They have refused. They instead have opened a docket at the International Criminal Court in The Hague, accusing Israel or calling for charges against Israel. 23 journalists have been killed in Ukraine. Thousands of journalists, in fact, nearly 3,000 journalists, according to the International Federation of Journalists, have been killed in conflict zones since 1990. But we have not heard a word about the circumstances surrounding their death. So why is this one particularly different? We will be following the story. We do know that NGO Monitor will be releasing their findings on Chris Cobb-Smith a little later today, and we will keep you posted and we'll bring you updates. But this is extremely, extremely dangerous and irresponsible. I cannot emphasize that enough, and we call on you, the media consumer, to hold media platforms like CNN accountable for this kind of reporting, because you deserve the truth no matter what. If Israel is responsible for the incident, and we do believe it was completely a terrible accident, we will take responsibility and will take the necessary steps to correct. But it must be understood that all war correspondents understand the extreme risks when covering stories like this, and it does not help for CNN to have trumped-up experts who are pushing a dangerous agenda. In better news, Turkish Foreign Minister is in Israel. Earlier today, he visited Yad Vashem, that is Israel's National Holocaust Memorial and Museum. In the guest book, he is believed to have written about the importance of Turkey to combat both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. In a joint press conference with our Foreign Minister Yair Lapid, the two foreign ministers reiterated their commitment to improving ties between the two countries, working in cooperation in various areas. They also acknowledge the ups and downs of the bilateral relations in the past, but are committed to opening a new chapter. During this press conference, Foreign Minister Lapid also thanked President Biden for ensuring that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps remains on the international terror list. And our final story stays with that last point about the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Prime Minister Bennett has thanked President Biden and acknowledged that the two leaders spoke about this in their last phone call. The Prime Minister said that President Biden remains a true friend of Israel and did the right, correct and moral thing in ensuring that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the largest state sponsor of terrorism, remains on the terror watch list. So those are our top stories. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. We have an article there by Jonathan Feldstein exactly about terror groups on the international watch list. It will also be up on our Facebook page at Lottel Site. Don't forget to like and follow us, join our community, share our content. It helps to debunk the kind of lies that are being perpetrated by organizations like CNN out there in the mainstream media. Don't forget, our YouTube channel is at The Israel Brief. If you click on that red subscribe button, you help us to ensure that Israel's side of the story gets told to as many people as possible. So please click on that red subscribe button, like us, share our content, invite your friends to as well. And we're on Twitter at LayOfTheLand5. That's at LayOfTheLand5. So I'm Rolene Marks. I just want to reiterate yet again that we express our profound sorrow at the horrendous massacre in Uvalde, Texas earlier today. And our thoughts and our prayers continue to be with the victims and their families. This is the Israel Brief. Thank you for watching, and we'll bring you your headlines tomorrow.